Hello and welcome to another PlanetDestiny video. We've been combing our database and we have come across some more juicy secrets. Exotics. That's right, we now know what all the perks are on all the new exotics in House of Wolves, so let's just jump right into it. First up are the weapons. Let's start off with the weapon we already know a lot about, the Fate of All Fools. Stat-wise, this scout rifle is in the rare, low rate of fire, high impact class similar to Gillion's Demise or Badger's CCL. Based on that alone, I am keen to get my hands on it since it's the only class of scout rifle I actually use in PvP. Its range is nearly maxed out, and the reload is respectably high as well. The only rough stat on there is the stability, which fortunately looks like it can be addressed with smart drift control in the muzzle options. The other muzzles, soft ballistics and CQB ballistics, look like decent options, but smart drift control looks like it will fix the only glaringly wrong thing with the gun. The first tier perk is Zen Moment, which will also help with the stability by increasing it every hit, stacking up to 3 times. Moving over to the second row of perks, we have Extended Mag, Speed Reload, and Custom Optics. Personally, the choice will come down to Extended Mag and Speed Reload. Fate of All Fools does have a lower magazine size at 13, so maybe Extended Magazine will be the better option for keeping your DPS up in PvE and having success in PvP. We won't really know until we actually get our hands on the weapon. The final namesake perk, Fate of All Fools, will cause chain body shots to increase headshot damage. So since this weapon has extremely high impact, it looks like this will take 2 body shots and a headshot to take out a target. Fate of All Fools is one of the weapons I'm really most interested in trying, partly because we have heard so much about it for so long, but mostly because those stats and perks look like they will make an extremely interesting weapon. Moving on to the next weapon, we see it's also a scout rifle. The 347 Dynasty has some interesting perks, but let's get into the stats. It's in that same archetype of scout rifle as Fang of Your Ute and Visions of Confluence, so many of you will like it just because of that. The rest of the talents are fairly balanced right down the middle. Range, stability, and reload are all average. For muzzle perks, we have Accurized Ballistics, Smooth Ballistics, and Aggressive Ballistics. Aggressive Ballistics is probably the one that I will use, since it usually comes with a hefty damage boost. The first tier perk is a new one called Icarus, which will increase your accuracy while airborne. Sunsingers who use Angel of Light look like they will have a fun time with this one. The second row perks are as follows: Single Point Sling, Hammer Forged, and Perfect Balance. Personally, I always go with more stability, especially since scout rifles have a pretty high base range associated with them, and Single Point Sling is just not that appealing. The final perk is actually a double perk similar to how Murmur can change from Arc to Solar. The first one is called Goliath. It will cause body hits to increase your armor for 15 seconds. The second perk is called David, and it will increase your agility for 15 seconds on precision kills. This makes for a fairly modular weapon design. In PvP, I can see me going with David, so my precision kills will cause me to move that much quicker to my next kill. Goliath seems like it would be good in PvE situations where body kills will be the norm. Looking at you, Cabal phalanxes. Overall, I'm interested to actually try this weapon out too. The second row perks could be a little bit more interesting, but overall it looks like the 347 Vested Dynasty will be a decent weapon. We'll have to wait to see how good the David and Goliath perks are, and if they will warrant the exotic status. Moving on, let's take a look at an exotic in the new weapon class. The weapon Dregs Promise will be one of the new sidearm class of weapons. They'll occupy the special weapon slot in case you were wondering, and all of them come with the perk called Reserve Ammo, which will cause you to always spawn with full ammo for that weapon. The stats are a little bit difficult to talk about since we haven't tried out the sidearm class of weapon yet. Still though, it is worth mentioning that the rate of fire is completely maxed out at 100, and the impact is extremely low at 5, so it looks like this gun will fire extremely fast but not hit very hard. The range is okay at 41, but the real eye-opener here is the high stability and reload stats. It looks like you're going to be able to fire this weapon like a laser beam and reload it quickly to fire off another quick volley. Moving on to the perks, we see that it has arc damage. The first row muzzle perks are Soft Ballistics, CQB, and Aggressive Ballistics. Aggressive Ballistics will probably be the way to go here since the weapon has so low impact. The first tier perk is a new one called Grave Robber. Melee kills while this weapon is equipped will have a chance to refill your magazine. Since this is only on chance to happen, it probably isn't a good idea to use this one in PvP, expecting to just never reload. But it does look like it will make a great sidearm choice for those closer encounters in PvE like the Abyss or various other hive areas. For second row perks, we have Snapshot, Field Scout, and Perfect Balance, and all these are actually interesting. Since you want to do more critical hits, Snapshot will help you aim down sights that much quicker. Field Scout is always a great perk to have, and that will probably play well with the Reserve Ammo perk. Finally, Perfect Balance is great because the more stability you have, the more this thing will fire like a laser beam. The final perk is called Shock Rounds. It reads, high ricochet rounds with enhanced target acquisition. This actually sounds like it would be really fun to use. The main thing that I didn't like about Hardlight and the other weapons with skip rounds was that the ricochet rounds were too difficult to aim. Bringing in some aim assistance to those rounds sounds like it'll actually make for more interesting times in tight corridors in both PvP and PvE. Overall, this looks like a very fun weapon. I haven't used the sidearm class of weapons, as I said, so I really don't know how it will perform to the legendary weapons of the same class. Based on the stats and perks though, it looks like it will be interesting at the very least. Next up, we'll take a look at the fusion rifle, Queenbreaker's bow. Yes, this is actually that weapon that we thought was a sniper rifle, but don't be angry yet. Let's take a look at the stats. The only stats that stand out in a good way are the range and reload, which hover around 60. The stability, charge rate, and impact are all very low. So what gives about this weapon? Well, looking at the sights, we see some interesting things. The first sight is called Marksman's Sight. It's a longer range sight with slower charge time, greater damage and ammo, and charge displays. The second sight is called Combat Sight. It's a lower zoom sight with faster charge time and ability energy display. Honestly, I don't really know what to make of this. If I were to guess, I would say that this gun has the ability to change from a sniper to a fusion rifle, or just a very short-range sniper. I'm not too keen on the idea of having to charge my sniper shots, but let's move on anyway with the perks. The first row perk increases its hipfire, so it looks like this weapon is supposed to be used in the hipfire mode, or at least have the ability to with the combat sights equipped. The second row of perks is kind of a mixed bag. We have single point sling, flared magwell, and send it. Again, I really don't know what to pick here. This weapon pretty much stumps me right now. The final perk is one of the new ones called Hidden Hand, which grants better target acquisition. Again, this makes me confused. I suppose this is for the side of the weapon that wants to be in sniper mode? As I said, I really don't know what to make of this. Simply because I have no idea how it will perform makes me interested in it though. The final weapon we'll be taking a look at is the infamous Lord of Wolves. Stat-wise, this thing is built to hit hard. Its impact of 64 is almost best in class, barely taken over by Fellwinter's Lie, Astral Horizon, the Trials of Osiris shotgun, and some various blue shotguns. The magazine size of 30 looks astounding, but you have to remember that this weapon is fired in burst mode. The other stats are unimpressive, to say the least. Rate of fire, stability, range, and reload are all pretty much in the lowest category of this weapon class. The muzzles are a mixed bag, including smart drift control, soft ballistics, and linear compensator. I'll wait until I've actually tried out the weapon before I recommend one though. In the first perk, we have hip fire. It seems like it would be a pretty nasty one to have on a shotgun since it means you won't even have to bring the weapon up to your shoulder to fire off an accurate blast. The second row perk has some stuff to help address the lower stats. We have our choice of speed reload, extended magazine, and perfect balance. Since the stability is really low on this one and it's a burst fire weapon, I'd probably recommend you use perfect balance to start out. But again, I haven't had my hands on it, so as far as I know, it could eat through ammo fast enough that speed reload or extended mag would be the best route. The final perk is a really interesting one called Devil's Touch. Kills with this weapon rally nearby friends and grant them +3 recovery. The buff will last 30 seconds. This is really what makes the weapon for me. Recovery is a stat that's extremely helpful in pretty much both PvE and PvP, so being able to buff your fire team while killing stuff will be great. I can easily see some Defender Titans using this and not only giving out weapons or blessings of light, but helping out with some sweet recovery as well. Even though the stats in Lord of Wolves kind of make me cringe, I still want to try it out simply based on the Devil's Touch perk. My Titan hungers to help out the group as much as possible, and this weapon might grant me that ability. Alright, so that's all the weapons that we've data mined thus far. Let's move into the armor section, and we'll start out with my favorite class, the Hunters. Keep in mind we can't see what the stats are, so we don't know how these will mesh with the perks. We can only comment on the perks themselves. The first one is the helmet known as Celestial Nighthawk. It grants Ashes to Asset, replenish super energy when you make a kill with a grenade, and Inverse Shadow, increase super energy when killing minions of the darkness. These two perks mesh pretty well together, as a grenade kill will allow you to double dip with that increased super energy. The main perk, Big Game, is a game changer. It makes it so your golden gun will only fire one shot, but that one shot will do 6 times damage and over-penetrate the target. It actually grants you the keyhole ability, so you can now get Gunslinger's Trance and Keyhole all in one spec with your hunter. The perk sounds like it's actually designed to help you destroy a larger elite mob, or just tear through packs of enemies. Combining this with the combustion perk looks like it will lead to some insane orb generation, provided you use your super at the precise time. I think my Gunslinger just found a new PvE helmet. Next up are the exotic gloves, Kirby's Sting. They have a new perk called Primary Weapon Loader, which increases the reload speed of all primary weapons, and Invigoration, which will cause orbs of light picked up to reduce your melee cooldown. The main perk is called Touch of Venom. It allows you to gain invisibility after crouching in place for a short time, and meleeing an enemy while invisible will cause you to do 4 times damage. I imagine it gives you the perk for crouching to gain invisibility so you can pick either Encore or Hungering Blade. These sound interesting enough that blade dancers might start taking use of them in PvP. Being able to crouch invis is something that's starting to see more play in some Crucible matches. I doubt the 4 times damage while invisible will be used in PvP, but in PvE it makes for a nice way to dispatch a tier 2 enemy. Finally, for the hunters, we have the Bones of Ao. They have the standard heavy weapon perk to increase your heavy weapon ammo reserves. The final perk is called Not Bound by Law and gives your double jump and an extra jump. So pretty much these boots give all hunters triple jump. Movement is a really underrated thing to spec for in my eyes, so these are going to be one of the new toys that I can't wait to try for my Crucible loadout. I know some of you explorers can't wait to toss these on too and go jumping into areas that no other class has been able to get to yet. Alright, so let's switch classes to the Warlocks. First up is the Ram. The first 2 perks are Infusion, granting you health when you pick up an orb, and Scholar's Draw, replenish super energy when you kill an enemy with a melee strike. The main perk is called Strength of the Ram. It's actually designed for Voidwalkers. Increases armor and all Voidwalker melees trigger lifesteal on hit. So this exotic is clearly designed for those Warlocks who were Titans in a previous life. All jokes aside, this is going to be a pretty nasty helm for aggressive Warlocks in both PvP and PvE. Being able to have an on-demand health regen will be especially lethal in PvP. Next up are the Nothing Manacles. They have Energy Projection perk, which increases grenade throw distance, and the Innervation perk, which replenishes grenade cooldown every time you pick up an orb. If these gloves weren't focused on grenades enough, the main perk called Scatter Charge will grant an extra scatter grenade and enable them to track targets. I know Scatter Grenade isn't widely used, but it's been an interesting grenade to use while leveling my Warlock. Anytime I missed a target or threw just shy of one, I was always remarking, man, it would have been great to have tracking on those scatter pulses. Well, apparently Bungie heard me and made an exotic that makes me seriously consider rerolling a Warlock. I can't wait to try these out for my Voidwalker. The last exotic is the chest piece known as the Purifier Robes. It has the perks Serpent's Mouth and Serpent's Tail, which replenish grenade cooldown on melee hit and replenish melee cooldown on grenade hit. So these 2 perks go together like peanut butter and jelly. The final perk is called Burn Brighter, and it causes your Radiance ability to blind nearby enemies if you use it to bring yourself back from death. Yeah, so it looks like Bungie actually switched what used to be on the Ram and put it on this exotic. These perks sound like they'll make for an insanely powerful exotic piece. Heart of the Praxic Fire might have just been dethroned as its best in slot Sunsinger chess piece. Overall, Bungie hit it out of the park on all of these Warlock exotics. Even if the rolls on them are bad, these are going to be highly sought after. Finally, let's take a look at the Titan class. First up is the Eternal Warrior Helm. It grants Inverse Shadow, so killing minions of the darkness grants increased super energy, and Infusion, which replenishes health every time you pick up an Orb of Light. The final perk, Resolute, will grant you the Unstoppable perk for your Fist of Havoc. I like all of the perks on this helm, so let me just state that. But overall, it just doesn't seem to stand out that much. Maybe if Resolute gave something a little bit extra on top of Unstoppable, like using your Titan Smash replenishes health, then I think it would be worth the exotic. I know a lot of strikers are happy to have an exotic helm with the Inverse Shadow perk on it, but overall I'd probably just continue using my Armamentarium loadout. The next exotic are the ACD/0 Feedback Fence Gloves. These are spec neutral, and they give the Rain Blows perk, which increases melee attack speed, and Brawler's Charge, which increases your super energy when you kill something with a melee. So right off the bat, these 2 perks scream Titan, since they're all about punching things. As a defensive mechanism, the final perk, Wrath Conductors, will cause you to deal damage in the area around you if you take melee damage. My Defender Titan will love these when I decide to go aggressive mode and punch everything. Coupling these with the Striker Titan's melee perk that causes damage around you when you punch something, you might actually be able to have a decent area of effect build going. The final exotic are the boots, the Peregrine Greaves. They grant the extra heavy reserve ammo just like all exotic boots do, and their other perk called Peregrine Strike, which will cause your shoulder charge to do more damage while in the air. In PvP, these won't see any use, since shoulder charge already kills someone unless you're in Sunsinger or Blade Dance form. However, for PvE, these might be interesting to try. If it increases it enough, you might be able to swoop in and destroy a tier 2 mob or a fully shielded wizard. These will be more fun than anything, but I'd like to try them out eventually and have some fun crushing wizards. So, that's it for this video. What do you guys think of all the armor? I'm eagerly waiting to try out Fate of All Fools, but that weird sniper fusion rifle thing just intrigues me to no end. I think the Warlocks definitely won on the exotic armor contest this time around though. I hope you found this video helpful. This has been Patrick Casey with PlanetDestiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.